Hey everybody, this is Joe. This is Joe Martucci here with Tidal Flooding Talk, presented by the New Jersey Coastal Coalition. I'm joined, as we are every Tuesday now, with Dan Skeldon and Palma Shiles. And we have a very busy night of weather, of course, and a little bit of coastal flooding to talk about as well. We have the snow going, and looks like Palma just left the meeting. I think she'll come right back in. But Dan, I guess it'll be weather time since the two meteorologists are chatting here. And, you know, for the second time this winter, our friends in Cape May County are getting more snow than the rest of the state.
Yeah, I think Palma just doesn't like snow. She heard you mention the word snow, and she left.
That might have been it.
To come back in the spring. No, you're absolutely right. It's what I always used to call a South Jersey special. Where South Jersey gets more snow than North Jersey, and more snow than the Poconos. And yeah, it's snowing now. It's only going to get snowier as the night goes on. Thankfully, not a major nor'easter. We really haven't seen those this winter, so no major coastal flooding concerns. Quick hitting shot of snow on the way tonight.
Yeah, and it looks like the worst of this is from like now until 1 a.m. or so. And it's kind of interesting, from a communication standpoint, because I'm trying to say, like, the Wednesday morning commute, like, in and of itself, going to be, maybe some flurries around, but we got to see what the residual effects are from what happens, during the overnight hours and how much the roads can be, cleared and all that stuff. And again, we have one round of coastal flooding on Thursday morning with our high tide. This looks to be just minor flood stage for us all. So it's a nuisance kind of flooding that, unfortunately, we have to deal with, and we deal with it several dozen times a year. And, a lot of our communities in the Coastal Coalition, a lot of the work that they do prepare against, this kind of nuisance kind of flooding where it's, it's not Superstorm Sandy or anything, but it's enough to create some problems within your day.
Yep. See, as soon as you shift the focus of the conversation from snow to tidal flooding, look who pops back up here.
That's right.
Well, I'm glad you can see me.
Yes.
Still, I don't see you guys yet, but I think it's there. We go. Hi, everyone. Sorry about that.
You just didn't want to hear the snow talk, Palma.
No, I actually would love to know about snow. Did you give an intro on my behalf? Did we go over?
We did. We figured we'd get all of our weather talk out of the way, while you were out of the meeting here. You're in Atlantic City, Palma. You usually have it. You should have at least an inch of snow on the ground already.
I believe it. It was coming down on my way home from work. So
yeah. So, Atlantic City looks like 4 to 7 inches of snow. And, the one thing I've heard from one person, Jim Eberwine, I think our most attended Tidal Flooding Talk guest, is that the snow is kind of a heavier, wet snow. So even though our totals, might be 5 inches instead of 7 inches, but when you shovel that, it's going to feel more like 7 inches.
That's a good thing, though, with being in the drought. The more moisture that can be in the snow, not great for your back as you try to remove the snow, right. But it is more moisture into the ground, which we definitely do need. And I think I'm a huge snow lover, but I think even if you're not, snow is just so much more pleasant when you don't have tidal flooding to worry about. When you have snow-covered streets and flood-covered streets, it's kind of like a double hazard there. So, snow can be challenging enough to drive in, but it's just so much better when you don't have the other things that can come with a coastal storm. In the snow.
I remember this was – good, Palma.
Well, since we are potentially getting 7 inches snow.
Up to.
2. Would we still be at risk for flooding due to snow melt once it warms up? Or how does that work in terms of flooding?
So this one's kind of interesting because we are going to have rain tomorrow night and temperatures warm up into the 40s, maybe even touch 50. So, you will have, that liquid from the snow plus the liquid from the rain falling at the same time. I think we'll see a little bit of roadway or what we would call, or non-coastal flooding, but I don't see this being significant because it's not a lot of rain tomorrow night. And while, 4 to 7 inches of snow in Atlantic City and, Atlantic and Cape May counties, that's maybe a half inch or 0.6 inches of liquid. it's just not a lot. And remember, we need the precipitation. Our ground is so dry, and from Ocean County down south into May County, we're in an extreme drought. That's a level 3 of 4 when it comes to drought, and we've been that way since the middle of November. So I think long story short is we'll take it. But yes, I mean, there's definitely those situations. You can have snow and then a big rain afterwards. Sometimes that happens in March. Where you're going to get an inch and a half of rain and you have 2-3 inches of snow on the ground. That causes concerns also. But, I think all in all, it's fairly, minor, any flooding that would happen.
Do you think we make it through March? March is a pretty notorious coastal storm month. May not be a winter storm per se, but March, the March lion, they say all the time. We've made it through this winter. There's been a lot of potential, but there really haven't been any major blockbuster storms. Just the 2 South Jersey specials we alluded to, the one last month and then the one we're seeing right now. Do you think we make it all the way through the winter and through the month of March without like a big dog coastal storm this year?
It's very possible. I mean, a lot of the tracks that we're seeing, we call them, and Dan Miller being nor'easters, where these low pressure systems kind of, go into the Appalachian Mountains from the west, fizzle out and transfer its energy offshore. But when it does so, it's kind of close to New Jersey and doesn't have a lot of strength by that point in time. So, I tend to think, in just the way the winter's gone, and it's kind of like borderline La Nina conditions, that we end up okay on that front. But that being said, I mean, in terms from a weather standpoint, it does look like the last half of February has a lot of cold with it, below average temperatures. And you can never rule out a storm, if you get a storm track that's going more south to north, and that looks at least possible for late February. But how about this, to make a long answer short? If we don't get it by the end of February, I don't know if we get it. I don't think we get it.
Okay. I guess you guys, as meteorologists, have a challenge where you don't want to, cause any unnecessary panic and hype things up. But at the same time, we don't want people to be too comfortable with the way things have been and not prepare for a worst case scenario.
Yeah, I mean, the bread and milk storm, right? Everyone's like, oh, bread and milk. I saw someone just post in the Middletown, New Jersey Facebook group, about, I got my bread and milk today. And shout out to Middletown. They're one of our Coastal Coalition members. I don't know, Dan, or maybe Palma, you can answer it too. Is there ever really a bread and milk snowstorm? I mean, come on.
No,
you don't have 2 days worth of stuff in your.
Or you can have groceries delivered now. No, I think every part of the country has that storm. From way back. I know when I grew up in Rhode Island, it was the blizzard of '78, February 6, 1978. That was the storm where 2 to 4 inches was forecast. Back in that day, you still had milkmen, coming and delivering your milk. We had 55 inches of snow. No one got their milk for, a week or two. And, that was the storm that became our bread and milk storm. South Jersey, it may very well be a different storm. But, in today's society, you're not going to be stranded for a week or two, unable to get those essentials.
Yeah, totally. I mean, the way that we plow the roads, we salt, brine, the cleanup effort and all that stuff. I think we're mostly good. I think we talked about snow for too long and Palma decided to leave again. 55 inches of snow. I mean, that could be a different story. But, at the Jersey Shore, I mean, look, our biggest snowstorms, top end, you're talking about let's just say 1.5 feet, and yes, we had that. Remember, we had that just 2 years or 3 years ago now in 2022 in late January. I would say after a solid, it was on a Saturday. Sunday was bad. I think by Monday you can get around. You can go back to the grocery store if you really needed to.
Agreed.
Yeah. So
while my microphone and my camera's working, I have a very important question.
Yes.
What is more effective, putting a spoon under your pillow or wearing your pajamas inside out?
We're gonna take that one first.
I did neither. I knew nothing of those superstitions until I spent, a decade and a half in South Jersey. And then when I'm visiting schools, everyone, it seemed to be more the pajamas inside out as far as what was more popular. But growing up as a kid in New England, I have unfortunately never heard of either.
You probably had to turn your pajamas inside out not to get snow.
So are you saying that this is like a South Jersey thing or a New Jersey thing?
I didn't hear it in New England. I can't speak for anywhere else, but the only place I heard about it was in South Jersey. Joe, did you have it, growing up?
Yeah, I mean, nothing with the spoon. Actually, that's the first time I ever heard that, Palma, until
really
right now. Today, I was years old when we talked about the spoon underneath the pillow. The pajamas inside out, yes, I did hear about in school. I never did it. I think, Dan, it's probably more of a thing in places where they don't get snow often. And I'll kind of put New Jersey in that category because, I mean, we get snow pretty much every winter, but it's not the kind of snow that you got in New England where it's pretty much a gimme at that point. So I think I would say, New Jersey South, I'm sure inside out pajamas are a thing, but I have no credible facts to back me up.
Are there any superstitions that kind of ward off tidal flooding? Let's say major tidal flooding is forecast. Can you do something to hopefully warn? Or can we start something?
I usually call Tom Quirk, our executive director, and ask him to sing some opera and maybe hold the seas back by his voice.
Yeah, I mean I think Tom Quirk is the one that controls the tidal flooding in our area. So yeah.
He's been doing a good job this winter, and we haven't had that major coastal low, but we've talked about it on tidal floodings in the past. The threat is year round. You mentioned the nuisance flooding that could be at any point. As far as major storms go, nor'easter season, while unofficial, is like October to May. Hurricane season, June to November, and really that spans the whole calendar year. And then of course you get freshwater flooding as well, and that can happen with any of these storms or thunderstorms so it is really a year-round threat. Yeah, we can make it through March without a big winter coastal storm, but then the next time period, the next threat rises, and that's why hopefully Tidal Flooding Talk from here on out will be a year-round show every Tuesday at 7 p.m. as well, because that threat is always there.
Right. And or go ahead, Palma.
The New Jersey Coastal Coalition would like to remind everyone that floodwaters are dangerous. They can cause fires, contamination, and structural damage. When severe flooding is forecasted and an evacuation is advised, just go, don't wait. Have a plan, prepare for the worst, and stay safe.
Absolutely. All right. Anything, Palm, I don't know, anything going on in Margate with the anything in the flooding world going on with the building department over there?
No, I mean, it's been pretty quiet, knock on wood. And just like all of our neighboring coastal communities, we are continuing to work on our CRS, our community rating system, and our points for that. So that is another reason why we participate in the Coalition's MJPPI, which, Joe, would you like to say what that stands for? Do you remember?
Yes, the Multi-Jurisdictional Program for Public Information.
Right. Work is smiling somewhere right now,
Yes. Tom, you better give me a raise for that one. I got that one right off the top of my head. Yeah, I mean, the MJPPI is huge. We got two of them, right? We got one in Atlantic and Cape May. We got one in Northern Ocean in Monmouth County. And I have to say, everyone in the PPI that I've spoken with is happy, for the most part, is happy with what we're doing in the MJPPI, and they know the value of it, that it brings. Kind of like an extra, kind of like turbocharging your involvement in the Coastal Coalition. And what I've been doing since the beginning of January is meeting with all of our coalition towns. We're doing these, what we call community checklist meetings, and getting around to see, I guess you could say whether they're building officials or emergency management, people who are responsible for making sure your towns are as resilient as possible. the tidal flooding. And tomorrow I'll have the privilege of going up to Clark, New Jersey, and Union County. Now, they're not a tidal flooding community, but they are a community that does get flooding. I know Clark well. A lot of my family lives in Clark, so I'm looking forward to that. I might see my grandma while I'm in Clark too tomorrow.
You have to, Joe. You can't not
well,
your grandmother if you're in the neighborhood.
That's true, but here's the thing. So she actually has a senior meeting in Clark at noon. My meeting's at 11. So I got to see if we can link up. We got to see what the time. I mean, the plan is to go see her, right? But we got to see if the timelines align. We got to see what the deal is. I might just go over to the senior meeting and say hi. You might do that.
I think that's where you will be headed. Maybe you could talk to them about, the Coastal Coalition and tidal flooding.
That's right. We could very much so. But anyway, I've been meeting towns, up and down the Jersey Shore and even beyond. And, we've also had a lot of interest in our web app 4.0. So if you're watching this and you're in Longport or you're in Commercial Township in Cumberland County, you guys already have the web app 4.0 and you can sign up for that. You can go to your town's website. You can go to our Coastal Coalition website as well. So if you go to, if you just, you could type in NJ Coastal Coalition on Google or go to njcoastalcoalition.com, you can sign up for it. And it's actually cool. I mean, if my town had it, I would sign up for it. And not just because I work for the Coastal Coalition, but, it's automated alerts by the National Weather Service whenever there's some kind of flooding going on. But it's not just that. I mean, your phone app can tell you that. But it also tells you where the higher elevations to park at are, what blocks are going to be flooded from the coastal flooding. It's like a white glove service on everything flooding related. And, Dan, the best part is it's for the low price of $0.
You can't beat that. And
it's $0.
Great for locals and, vacationers alike too. I mean, locals maybe know a little bit more. Okay, these streets flood, these don't. I know when I moved to Ocean City back in like 2001, my mindset was, okay, it's going to flood. I'm going to move my car farther from the ocean. When in Ocean City, in a lot of shore towns, it's the bay, which is the lower side of the island, and the flood water comes in from the bay. So, I was that naive, even as a meteorologist. I remember the first tidal flooding thing is like, all right, I'm going to go park my car, on the Bayside, and it flooded. I didn't lose the car, but so I think for the tidal flooding novice, the Jersey Shore local, the Jersey Shore vacationer, it's great. And ideally, in a perfect world, and hopefully sometime soon, every single shore town will have the access to that information. Where should I park? What streets are going to flood? Now, the work that goes into that is intense, so it takes a while, to do each town. But that is the goal, and I'm sure that goal will eventually be achieved.
Yeah, we're getting there every day, and the 4.0 people like better than the 3.0 because the 3.0 someone had to manually trigger it. So if it was 3 a.m. on a Sunday, someone had to manually trigger it. So this is nicer that way for the people who are both in the town, working for the town, I should say, and for the residents of the town too, because you will get that alert out. We have Palma joining back in here. Apologize for the some of the issues here. We're using a new streaming platform today. We're trying to get better each and every week. We're gonna aim to get a guest on in either next week or the week after. And we're going to be talking with guests, who are experts at their topic. A lot of it's going to be coastal flooding related. Some of it will be weather related too. They go hand in hand, but we're looking forward to having our guests on also.
We do have to have, I'm going to request, I mean, we've never had a bad guest on Tidal Flooding Talk since it was first born.
That's true.
Since Tidal Flooding Talk 1.0. Right. I think this is the 4.0 version of tidal flooding too. But I am going to request Jim Everwine because I miss, my daily / weekly chats with him. I miss having him by my side at the Irish pub, and I'm sure he's in the lineup. But
yes,
he's one of my favorites.
Of course, I mean Jim's my my weather dad, Jim Everwine, longtime National Weather Service forecaster, retired, but then he's now a Seeking emergency management coordinator. He teaches 2 classes. He's still doing a whole bunch.
Yeah, so it's retired in quotes. He never officially retired.
He never officially retired.
Yeah.
He just left.
Nope.
I don't think so either. So yeah, we're definitely going to have him on, as we go forward. With and I think you said this, Dan, not much tidal flooding this past winter. I think if I recall correctly, our last like kind of widespread flooding event that was of some significance was actually a sunny day flooding event that we had, where we had persistent east winds for a long period of time. And that was just building up the bays. I think that was if I recall correctly, it was like in mid-September, and that lasted for a few days, and we got up to moderate flood stage on that. I was in Eagleswood. Eagleswood's a tiny town. Dan, you know Eagleswood.
I do.
Famous for its one road, Dock Road, that juts out into the Barnegat Bay. Beautiful sights if you go down to the edge. But the water was just like pouring into the street. I mean, I got some drone footage of that. It was quite the sight. But, another thing, another thing to know about flooding, right? It doesn't have to happen when there's a storm around. It can happen just when there's sunny day and get an east wind. It doesn't take rain is not an ingredient for coastal flooding. No, it can exaggerate coastal flooding, but it's not an ingredient.
Absolutely. I mean, you don't need a named storm. You don't need a nor'easter. You don't need a hurricane. It's all about, two main things are, you mentioned it, the wind. How fast is it blowing? What direction is it blowing from? And how long is it going to persist? And then, of course, the astronomical tides. I mean, you can flood at, low tide or maybe not quite an astronomically high new or full moon, but obviously when the tides are astronomically higher, that increases the chances too. So the tide cycles and the wind, duration, intensity, and speed, the two ingredients. And you mentioned it was sunny during one of the last more significant flooding events we've had. So you can never really let your guard down, even if there isn't a storm on the map.
Yeah, absolutely.
And I know, sorry, I'm surprising everyone. I leave and now I'm back.
You're giving us an element of suspense.
Yeah. Most people, I'm sure, are just very interested in what's going on with the snow. But a lot like, when it floods and we tell people check in on your elderly loved ones, I mean, they do have a lot of the same things that you have to look out for, whether it's going to be a major coastal flooding event or a winter storm. So that is, you have to check on your loved ones, or at least you should, and prepare an emergency supply kit with, essentials, your medications for not only you, but make sure you have what you need for your pets. Could we expect any power outages with this storm?
With this one specifically?
Yes.
I wouldn't rule it out in Cape May County, where they would see the most snow. It is a heavier snow, but there's not a lot of wind with this, which is very good news for us there.
That is good news. So, because I know I have almost a 2-year-old now, so having like the baby monitor, if the power goes out, that is just that's not something I used to have to worry about, but now I do.
You know what, Palma, we got a good segue here because we have a question from Eileen Rissler who says, Dan, how are the girls?
They're wonderful. So Palmer has a 2-year-old now. I have a almost 6-year-old. She'll be turning 6 next month, and a just recently turned 3-year-old. And they are wonderful. They miss the beach. They love the snow, but I lure them up to PA saying, okay, we get more snow up here, and you guys are proving me wrong again tonight. So we may venture a trip down to South Jersey this weekend. But Eileen, they are wonderful. They keep me busy. They keep me on my toes. They keep me pretty exhausted, but they're parts of my life.
Yeah, and so my 2-year-old, her name is Violet, and I also have a stepdaughter, Kalani, who I think is watching the show. But they are both snow lovers, so I think they will both have a lot of fun in the snow if you are right about the potential for up to 7 inches.
Yeah, hey, we'll have to get another photo of Violet, Palma. We put one on my Facebook, on my social media last time. We'll have to get another snow day photo.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Snow lovers always, I always think it's a curve, right? Where kids and meteorologists are, atop the snow loving list. And the older you get,
Right.
Your love of snow goes down.
That's right. What's interesting, Dan? You've probably come across this. Like, I still can't wrap my head around some meteorologists who have never seen snow.
Yeah.
You ever come across? It's crazy, but I mean, I'm not blaming them. It's just weird. But I guess I've never seen a tornado with my own two eyes, and some meteorologists would say that I'm crazy. I've never seen it.
Yeah. Well, snow is a little more widespread than tornadoes, so I think that
is true.
Who have not seen snow, but imagine if you're like a meteorologist in Pensacola, Florida this year, and you've seen snow, and then you get 8 inches, earlier this year. And
I know.
Testament to this winter too. And when I do my talks around here, I'm like, I think that sums up this winter in a nutshell, where Florida has seen a bigger snowstorm than anywhere in PA and New Jersey, or at least most places in Pennsylvania and New Jersey so far this year.
I think the best snowstorm of the winter goes to New Orleans.
Yeah.
Weeks ago. They had the most fun with that snow. That was the coolest.
Imagine if that would have coincided with the Super Bowl. That would have been something crazy as well. But
that would have been very crazy. I know. I should ask Dan, where are you on the Super Bowl with? I mean, obviously your Patriots weren't in it, but do you think were you okay with the Eagles winning?
I did not watch the Super Bowl. I think
at all.
At all. Did not see a commercial. Did not see the halftime show. Did not see the game. I actually built a huge fort with my daughter, and was playing with my daughter and watching a movie on the couch with her. And so I'm very happy for the Eagles. I like the Eagles team. Saquon Barkley is a native of the Lehigh Valley. I think he's the nicest, most genuine guy in the world. So I'm happy for him, but I did not watch the game. I know Eagles fans are very, very excited, and rightfully so. From what I heard afterwards, it was a dominating performance and a great game.
Yeah, and I'm just sending a message here, but yes, it was great game if you're an Eagles fan. I think from a neutral standpoint, probably was very underwhelming. But I was just hoping for the shutout. And I was hoping the Eagles, it's 34-0 going into the fourth. I was like, let's just keep it going, because there was never a shutout in Super Bowl history.
Yeah, it would have been nice to see. And yeah, Eagles fans enjoyed that. Chiefs fans obviously were miserable. And the people who aren't with those fan bases, they just want a close game. They want a good game. And obviously that was not. But also a lot of people don't like success, which was why there's a lot of Patriot haters out there. Right. Brady haters. So I think a lot of people were happy the Eagles won, because they're kind of sick of the Chiefs.
So last question, and then we'll wrap up the show here. So were you rooting for the Chiefs then, because you empathize with their plight as being hated as a Patriots fan? We got 30 seconds left.
No, honestly, no. I like Andy Reid. I've always respected him. So I was actually rooting for him to win. More than anything else, but I had no big rooting interest in the team. So I'm happy for Eagles fans.
All right, cool. We'll wrap up this week's episode of Tidal Flooding Talk, brought to you by the New Jersey Coastal Coalition, produced by Tri-X 57 News. You can go to njcoastalcoalition.com for more about what we do, covering the Jersey Shore and being flood resilient. And we'll be back with you next Tuesday, right here on any kind of streaming device. We have you on Facebook, YouTube, and Tri-X57.com. Take care, everybody.
Looking forward to it.